Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so we are officially heading into what some of our sources are calling the great lock-in of 2025.
Or the winter arc season, yeah.
Right. And this isn't just, hitting a Q4 target. It feels bigger. It's this shift where the fun, maybe the experimentation of summer and early fall is kind of done.
And the focus snaps entirely to locking down specific habits, specific achievements before 2026 hits, a new era almost.
Exactly. It's about radical focus. And you, the listener, actually shared this really intensive 10-step guide with us.
Yeah, designed specifically for this period to really maximize what you can achieve in this final crucial quarter.
So our mission today is basically to unpack these steps. We want to dig into the philosophy behind them, the psychology.
And pull out the most actionable stuff, insights you can use to build consistency that actually finally sticks.
Okay, and we kind of have to start where the source material does, which is with maybe an unpopular opinion.
Which is that every lock-in needs to be completely different, totally personalized.
Yeah, that really stood out.
Customization is the absolute core here. They argue pretty strongly that just copying someone's aesthetic morning routine from TikTok or Instagram.
Because it looks good or disciplined.
Right. It's basically useless. The focus has to be tailored, laser-focused on your specific goals, your lifestyle, and I think critically, your unique yearly struggles.
Your pitfalls.
Yeah.
The things that always seem to trip you up year after year.
Exactly. You need the right medicine for your specific illness, like you said, offline, not just some generic wellness trend.
And they gave that really detailed example of personalization. For one person, the lock-in was all about a super strict whole foods diet.
Specifically, cutting out known intolerances, dairy, sugar, gluten.
With the goal of lowering long-term inflammation. That's incredibly specific, not just eat healthier.
Totally. That's not generic at all. And for you listening, that focus might be completely different. Maybe it's about hitting a savings goal.
By ruthlessly cutting subscriptions to free up cash for an investment.
Yeah. Not just save more money. The power is definitely in that precision.
And that precision, it seems, starts with preparation. The sources argue pretty compellingly that you have to create the conditions for success before you even start applying willpower.
Which brings us neatly to the first section, which is all about optimizing your external world.
Right. Step 1, environment creates flow. And we're not just talking about, tidying up a bit.
No, it's much deeper. It's intentionally setting up your daily environment, your apartment, your workspace, so that being productive is actually the path of least resistance.
The examples they give are super practical, like cleaning off your computer desktop, because visual clutter genuinely affects your mental focus.
Or downloading a productivity app. They mentioned structured, not just for tasks, but to actually time block your calendar.
But your day is junked out. Visually, you know exactly where your energy needs to go.
Yeah. But I think the real genius here is realizing how motivation follows the environment you set up. You're almost outsourcing your willpower.
Outsourcing willpower to your shelf organization. Explain that.
Okay, think about the simple hack they mentioned. Organizing your supplements into one of those weekly pill cases.
Okay, yeah.
Or creating a dedicated breakfast shelf. Everything for your protein shake, collagen, chia seeds, nuts, whatever, it's all right there together.
So you see it, you grab it. The habit takes almost zero conscious effort.
Precisely. And then there's this idea of romanticizing life, which I admit sounds a bit fluffy at first.
Yeah, why is upgrading your alarm clock? They specifically mentioned the Hatch alarm or putting your favorite silk robe on a hook. Why is that part of a serious lock-in?
Because consistency isn't just about churning out work. It's about psychological anchoring. Those little pleasures, they change how you feel about starting your day.
Okay.
If you dread your morning environment, you're less likely to show up consistently.
Yeah.
So romanticizing those tiny rituals acts like a little reward system. It helps stabilize your circadian rhythm, makes mornings feel nicer.
Which boosts your chances of sticking with the routine.
Yeah.
Okay, that reframes it. It's not superficial, it's actually strategic.
Exactly. Which leads directly into step 2. Set friction against every sabotage habit.
Yes, the familiar enemies. Scrolling, ordering takeout, snacking on junk. The stuff that feels easy and comforting, but drags us back to square one.
That comfort, that familiarity, is the enemy of change during a lock-in. So the solution is to actively create friction. A new habit, or even an investment that makes the bad habit harder to do.
Okay, example.
If your big sabotage is skipping the gym because it's cold and dark outside.
Yeah, classic winter problem.
The friction they suggest is investing in a walking pad for your living room.
Okay. But isn't that just like buying your way out of discipline instead of building the resilience to just go out in the cold?
I see why you'd ask that, but I think the source sees it differently. You're using a temporary external tool to help normalize an internal behavior shift.
Like training wheels.
Exactly. The goal is to build the identity of someone who needs to move their body. The pad makes it easier to start forming that identity. Once the habit's locked in, maybe you don't need the pad as much because the identity has shifted. Okay, I get that. And they had that great little hack attached to the walking pad, too,
Oh, yeah, the digestive benefit. Walking on it for just 10 minutes after every single meal.
which apparently helps reduce the blood sugar spike after eating.
Right, leading to better energy, better focus. That's an immediate, tangible payoff right there. Internal reward.
And similarly, if the sabotage is endless scrolling,
The friction is setting up a morning routine that you actually look forward to. Something fun, detailed.
and then you put up a barrier, like no phone for the first hour, or at least until that nice routine is completely done.
You insert the barrier before the easy dopamine hit becomes an option. You make the good choice the easier, more structured choice.
Okay, perfect transition. We've tackled the external environment, we've added friction to bad habits,
Hmm.
but the sources are super clear. If this whole lock-in feels like misery, it's doomed to fail.
Which brings us to internal optimization, making discipline sustainable. And that starts with step 3. The lock-in must be enjoyable. Somehow. This feels like a direct challenge to that whole hustle harder, suffer for success mindset.
It really is. The source says, figure out what you actively dread about the process, and then find a smart way to counteract that dread.
Okay, like the cooking example they used.
Hmm.
If you dread cooking because it feels like it takes forever for little reward,
The counter isn't just force yourself, it's radically reducing the effort. Meal prepping everything on Sunday,
yeah,
chopping, seasoning.
go daily cooking is just tossing stuff in the air fryer.
Exactly. You remove the main friction point, the time and effort making it faster, and therefore more enjoyable or at least less dreadful.
And the gym example was similar. If you hate going,
You counteract it. Maybe invest in workout clothes you actually feel good in. Learn some new routines so it's not boring.
and crucially, build a whole, supportive, even luxurious routine around the workout itself.
Right. They outline that specific ritual, a slow morning, first skincare, good breakfast, maybe meditation, journaling, then gym.
And a reward afterward, like a walk outside, a nice iced matcha, a fresh juice.
So the gym isn't this isolated punishment. It's framed as one enjoyable, non-negotiable part of a larger, positive daily ritual.
That holistic view ties into step 4. Energy is everything. A lock-in demands high energy, right? So
Yeah.
protecting it is paramount.
Absolutely. And that means getting really honest about your personal energy takers versus your energy savers.
The big energy taker they called out was social media.
Yeah. Constant comparison, idea overwhelm, cheap dopamine hits. It just leaves you feeling drained for the actual deep work.
And the energy savers.
Things like journaling, meditation, manifestation rituals,
Mm.
exercise, obviously, and just spending time outdoors, getting away from screens.
But they also mentioned evaluating external factors.
Yeah, this was interesting. Like a specific person who drains you, a place that brings up bad memories, even an object in your room that reminds you of a past failure or a version of yourself you're trying to leave behind.
And the advice is pretty blunt.
Cut it out,
Yeah.
ruthlessly, for the lock-in period at least. Protect your energy at all costs.
Which feeds right into step 5. Take a dopamine detox. This sounds intense.
It is, but it's the core mechanism for retraining your brain. You deliberately cut out sources of cheap dopamine.
Like the endless scrolling, the junk food, impulsive online shopping, late night streaming.
All that instant gratification stuff. The goal is to train your brain to actually crave slow dopamine, the satisfaction that comes from effort and focus.
So slow dopamine is like the pleasure of cooking a great meal instead of just ordering takeout.
Exactly. Or the satisfaction of finishing a chapter in a challenging book instead of zoning out to TV.
How does that work neurologically?
Well, when you resist that the urge to scroll, say, and you deliberately replace it with something productive like reading or getting on that walking pad, you're literally starting to rewire your brain's reward pathways.
You're teaching it that delayed gratification, that focus, actually feels good in a deeper way.
Precisely. And that resetting of the reward system is what makes deep focus possible over the long term. You need that before you can tackle the big goals.
Wow. Okay, it's fascinating how we started with like organizing a shelf, and now we're talking about fundamentally rewiring our brains and identities,
That's the arc of the lock-in.
which sets the stage perfectly for our final section. Mindset, consistency, and actually rewiring your identity.
Right. And step 6 revisits setting your game plan, but with a heavy dose of realism.
You have to choose a manageable number of goals, like maybe one core outcome for the whole lock-in, or maybe 6 or 7 smaller related ones.
And the source is really clear here. Setting wildly unrealistic goals is just a recipe for self-sabotage.
You fail early, you feel terrible, you lose trust in yourself, and the whole thing collapses.
Exactly. Consistency over insane intensity is the key. So structure the plan, break it down into weekly or maybe monthly
Like,
focuses.
this week I had that networking event, or this month I clear Project X.
Yeah, and then have your daily non-negotiables, taking those supplements, hitting the gym or class, focusing on that anti-inflammation diet, whatever they are for you. Make it manageable.
Okay, then comes step 7. Manifest like a pro. Now, this could be a controversial topic for some.
It can, but the way the source frames it is very psychological. It's not just wishful thinking. It's built on the principle of repetition.
The idea being that your subconscious mind latches on to what you continuously repeat and act on, not just what you passively desire.
Right. It believes repetition. So the techniques are tools for that repetition. Affirmations, visualization.
Like really vividly imagining your dream life, almost like watching a movie of it before bed.
Yeah. And scripting. This one seemed crucial, writing things down in the present tense as if the success you want has already happened.
So scripting equals identity rewiring, in their view. You write yourself into the reality you want.
That's the idea. But wait, you asked earlier about a potential tension here.
Yeah. How does this intense focus on belief and assuming success, this manifestation square, with the final step, which basically tells you to just ignore your feelings and force the action? They seem kind of opposed.
But that tension is the engine of the lock-in, I think. The source argues that just working hard without mastering your mind is a huge disservice.
Meaning, if you're working hard but constantly doubting yourself or criticizing yourself.
You're basically canceling out the benefits of the hard work with negative self-talk. Manifestation, in this context, is the mind mastery part. It's building the belief structure.
Okay, so manifestation provides the why and the belief.
And the final steps provide the how for consistent action, even when belief wavers. They work together.
Gotcha. Okay, so to maintain both, we need step 8, weekly reviews and course corrections. This sounds more analytical.
It is. This is where you step back non-emotionally and assess. You ask, okay, where did I slip up this week? Why did I procrastinate on that task?
And the course correction has to be a concrete strategy.
Exactly. Not just try harder next week. It's, okay, skip the gym Wednesday because I worked late Tuesday. Next week, I'll pack my gym bag Tuesday night regardless. A specific fix.
So it prevents those little slip-ups from turning into that downward spiral of self-sabotage that just kills your self-trust.
Right. And crucially, this review isn't just about failures. You have to recognize and celebrate the wins, even the small ones.
Why is that so important?
Because it builds momentum and reinforces that self-trust. If you only focus on what went wrong, you'll just feel defeated. Celebrating wins proves to yourself that you can do it.
Okay, that makes sense. That momentum then lets you tackle the really deep stuff in step 9, challenge your identity.
This is huge. The sources state really clearly. Changing your habits, changing your lifestyle. It's often not enough if your core beliefs about yourself are still stuck in the past.
Still rooted in that insecure or maybe timid or unsuccessful version of yourself.
Exactly. You have to consciously normalize the new lifestyle by making radical mental shifts about who you are.
They use that diet example again here, which was powerful. Instead of thinking, ugh, it's not fair, I can't have dessert, I feel so deprived.
The identity shift is to genuinely believe I love myself way too much to inflame my body with that stuff.
Wow, that completely flipped it from deprivation to self-care and ownership.
Right. Or for fitness, shifting from, ugh, I have to work out, to truly internalizing, I'm the type of person who loves moving my body. I always show up for myself.
You stop fighting the process because you start owning the identity that produces the result.
You got it. And that sense of identity ownership, that's what fuels the final, maybe most high-impact step. Step 10, forget your feelings.
This sounds harsh, but it makes sense in context.
It's the ultimate discipline builder because your brain fundamentally seeks comfort and familiarity. It wants to pull you back to the old patterns, the old self that maybe didn't achieve the goal but felt safe.
So those feelings of, oh, I really don't feel like doing this today, or I'm kind of scared of that networking meeting, they're inevitable.
Totally inevitable. And the instruction here is, for this lock-in period, learn to gently ignore them. Acknowledge the feeling, maybe, but do the hard thing anyway.
Because the outcome on the other side of that discomfort is almost always exponentially better than staying comfortable.
10 times better, the source claims. And if you practice just doing it anyway, ignoring the resistance for these next 3 months.
The goal is you build this resilient, disciplined persona, someone who can make tough choices, regardless of how they feel in the moment.
Exactly. So, okay, we've covered a lot. The 4 main pillars of this lock-in deep dive seem to be setting that personalized game plan,
Optimizing your environment to make good choices easy.
making the whole process sustainable, even enjoyable, while ditching that cheap dopamine.
And finally, mastering the mindset through identity shifts, manifestation, and that radical commitment to action.
You really have a complete framework now, drawing from that source material.
And as we talked about, there's that fascinating tension, right, between step 7, the mind mastery, the manifestation, believing it's already done.
And step 10, the radical, almost brute force action, ignoring feelings, pushing through discomfort. They seem different, but they really rely on each other.
So for you listening, the question we want to leave you with is this. If the whole point of this lock-in is to become that next level version of yourself, which side of that discipline coin do you think is the bigger driver of identity change for you right now?
Is it the analytical part, the weekly reviews, the course corrections, fixing the process, or is it that more radical step, the willingness to forget your feelings to build sheer resilience?
Think about which of these 10 steps really hits home for your specific struggles. Where's your biggest leverage point? Find it and commit to it.
Go lock it in.
We'll see you for the next deep dive.